Hey, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, good night, whichever part of the day you seem to be enjoying right now as you are watching my video. Right now, I am line working a little fusion sketch. I love drawing me some monsters, and I just use a generator and pick 3 animals. Animals that are being fused is an antelope, a possum, and an ox. I actually enjoyed this one. Didn't use no wild colors, stayed pretty neutral. I think this little guy looks cute, but I'm pretty sure at first glance this guy looks very, very off-putting. I think it's cute. Now, I said I'd be trying to share some stories, so trying to think of a story to start with, and I'm thinking, try not to go on too many dark stories, but my past has quite a few of them. Growing up on a farm with my family, very broken, toxic family at that. And, try not to dwell on the past, but I'm pretty sure a lot of people might enjoy these stories for some reason. I mean, I enjoy hearing other people vent themselves, so here I go on my own little venture of venting. This story comes up a lot when I start talking to new people, and they ask about the tattoos I have on my left arm. And, I went through a cutting phase through my teen years, but evolved into tattooing, which was able to wean me off from actually doing cutting somehow. I don't know if it lucked out on psychologically averting myself because I ended up seeing what I was creating rather than just feeling the pain. So, a lot of people ask why those tattoos there, what their meaning. Well, they have personal meanings. Most of them just showing that, I survived it. Showing 2 dragons intertwining of an angel wing and a bat wing, meaning there's goods and evils of everything. I try to be optimistic and hopeful. I always try to be so optimistic, even though the whole world gave me everything to be pessimistic. Now, not so much Christian anymore, mostly spiritual. I believe in a lot of shamanistic or animalistic beliefs. But I have a cross with wings, water driplets, moon, and dragons on my left arm. These are covering up a much deeper wound. And I don't know why I cut on top of this wound. I guess it's just because how numb I became over the years of just pain and heartache. Give me a second, my kid's acting up again. Hold on! Alright, sorry about that. Had to deal with the daughter real fast. But as I was saying, this is covering up a much deeper and bigger scar from my past. You have a visitor? Okay, well go cuddle in your chair and watch TV, baby. Be gentle with the kitten. Sorry. But, much deeper scar. This scar goes back to when I was 8 years old. My grandfather particularly owned a sawmill, a lumber mill, for a lot of farming land. And my whole family, my mother decided to make me do her job while she ran off. She disappeared for a while. She did come back and she started doing what was supposed to be her sister's job, stacking ties. The job I was now left doing is just bundling up the bark. This was me stacking all the basically scrap ends of the log trimmings, mostly the bark. The poor quality wood would be stacked inside this steel box-like container, and once it got full, I would bundle it up, and then the forklift would come around and haul it away and rinse and repeat the process, Well, I was 8, trying to do this very hassless job. Sorry, I got little one in the background, and I'm tired of trying to retrain my thought not to lose a story. So once this got full, it got hauled away. Sorry if there was a repeat. But, I'm a little 8 years old, wearing baggy hand-me-down clothes, and apparently none of my family saw this as a red flag. If they did, they wouldn't be having an 8-year-old work around this heavy machinery. So, let's say what happened next happened very quickly. I quickly found myself elbow deep inside this machinery. Now, rollers is this. At the sawmill, there was rollers that the logs would roll down. And the rollers about 6 inches in diameter, while the steel plate was about a little less than 1/3 of an inch thick on either side of the rollers, and these were mechanically ran. These are not the little push ones. Then you push the block, they'll roll and then stops. No, these keep going. This plays later in the story. So I'm elbow deep. Everything happened in an instant. I am pain and shock, screaming. My dad, fortunately being the smart one, quickly went to go turn off the machinery, ran to go grab a crowbar from God knows where, because I didn't see what was going on behind me. But my grandfather, who's climbing out his control panel area, turns the machine back on by mistake. So now when I thought, the thing was slowing down, thinking I might have a chance and not die and be squished in a cartoony fashion in miserable pain, I feel it amping back up, screaming more. My dad fortunately realized what my grandfather had done, turned it back off, and quickly ran over to jam this iron crowbar into the chain mechanism in the back rollers, making them stop. Because if they stopped on their own, it could take up to 5 minutes. With every second feeling like eternity, I probably would have passed out in pain. And probably would have been in a lot more trouble. So, after he had jammed the chain, he had trouble pulling it out. But he got it out and started crowbarring the steel plate that my arm is trapped in. Pulling it off. The top part of my arm, I did a lot of cutting to and damage to. I wasn't right in the head. Okay. Went through a lot of stuff. Was towards the plate, while the under part of my arm, the soft tissuey side, is towards the roller. It suffered a lot of friction damage, like burns. But the top part was what freaked me out the most. Oh, by the way, I was standing there butt naked because the baggy clothes. What got me stuck in the rollers, is because my shirt got caught, got pulled in, and it got ripped off me, like tore it right off me. And the pants I was wearing were barely still on me because they're pulling me into the roller, but they're knotting up. I remember it being pulled off, but then they were horribly overstretched. But that wasn't my concern. It was the fact that there's hanging tissue hanging off my arm. Oh, I probably should say, gore warning, very detailed. Sorry, you may want to skip this a little bit if you don't want to hear the gory detail. But I realized there's a huge chunk dangling off my arm, and I just see blood and red tissue. And I don't remember how long, but I came back to consciousness in the bathroom of my grandparents' house, where my grandmother was just finishing cutting off the dangling flesh that was left on my arm that was hanging up by my elbow because it got peeled up. Hopefully this doesn't give you too much gory, creepy, weepy details, but I felt it needs to be said. This ain't a scrape. This was actual damage, tissue damage. It took up all of the epidermis of my skin off and had scraped good bits of the muscle tissue on my upper arm off. How it did not rupture a vital blood vessel or artery is beyond me. And I was very, very lucky that it didn't. But as a small 8-year-old child, seeing your tissue, your muscle tissue, seeing the ligaments, the white, and having your grandmother cutting everything off and wrapping your arm up in toilet paper and making a makeshift cast with that and duct tape, I can cope with that. I got caught in the roller for the most part. I can understand, yeah, that's going to do a lot of trauma to my arm. But it's like, the part that I can't go over is, like, why was I working at the sawmill in the first place? Why was I around heavy machinery as an 8-year-old in baggy clothes and no one saw the threat of me being severely hurt? By the way, this is one of multiple times. But I had to say this is probably one of the bigger damage to my body that's happened. That's the fact I was never taken to the hospital. I did not see a primary. I did not have a real primary. I only went to the doctors enough to get a doctor's excuse. My grandmother wouldn't let them do a physical exam or anything on me because they didn't want them to know how fucked up I was. Pardon my French. But that's how I honestly felt. Using the F-bomb. Sorry. But, oh my goodness. Never went to the doctors, and honestly, to tell you why, is they didn't want child services called on them. You can get away within the South saying the farm or even a lumber mill is the family business, so that's why the Amish doesn't get in trouble for child labor, is because it's a family trade. That's how they slipped out with child services over and over again, despite the fact I was put in horrible danger and harm. But because I was never taken to the hospital when these horrible accidents happened, they never actually pushed the matter. So, yeah, that built a lot of character. My arm's healed. Fortunately, when I don't know how, but I have lucked out that all the skin healed pretty well. I have a light lightning bolt like shape on my arm, white scar that is covered by tattoos. You have to actually be looking. But the fun thing I like to do when people don't believe me when I tell them the story is make them feel my arm. Make them feel my right one. Feel how the muscle, you can feel the smooth ridging. Very smooth. You can feel the fat tissue. You feel it's round and normal. But the moment you start rubbing the left arm, it's like, oh, smooth, and then there's just a giant gully filled in with fat. But the moment you start pushing on it, you can feel the unnatural curve of missing muscle. And it makes people's hair stand on end. As it should. It's not an enjoyable experience, but it's an experience nonetheless. What other story is a little bit towards this? But my grandparents were not physically abusive to me. They're just more neglectful, and you keep quiet. You keep it in the family. You don't tell anyone. You don't talk unless you're spoken to. You keep your head down. But at the same time, I was my grandfather's favorite for the longest time, so I was a little bit spoiled at some points until it dropped off around when I was 13. When the other wife's kids started intervening, and he became a complete douchebag, and it got worse. So he became just as toxic as the rest of the family. My grandmother, bipolar. She went from overfeeding me to putting me on starving, extreme, weird diets. Oh, good enough. I can go on stories alone on the diets. She has white coat syndrome, I swear. Because even talking to her a few years back, after my grandfather passed away, realizing she just doesn't trust doctors at all. But maybe that what fed into this whole incident. I don't know. I lost my train of thought. Oh yeah, diets. I am not going to hide it from you. I'm a big girl. I have a lot of weight issues. I have hormone issues. And I've been fairly healthy for many years other than that fact. It's only when certain underlying things, and I'll share those in other stories that they came up. But I'm happy. I am healthy for the most part. Just a lot of sore arthritis, back pains from being, overweight. So, but these diets, you probably heard a few of these pills, stalker pills, I think they're called. A lot of green teas, coffee beans, green tea diet. She did all these over-counter ones, and none of them did a damn thing. And she also did a lot of these, what are they called? Home remedies? Home remedy, kind of like diets. Where, she read somewhere that, if you do so many ounces of vinegar, or they say a glass, but they say in the beginning of the book that the glass thing they're talking about is a cup measurement, not like an 8-ounce, or in our version 12-ounce size jug, storage jug glasses. That's what we drunk out of. And she read that, you're supposed to drink a glass of white vinegar before, after, whatever, each meal, or a meal a day, because apparently vinegar will help cut the fats out of your diet. So you can be able to eat all the fat you want, but it'll cut it right out. Basically saying it's a laxative. So my grandmother went on the extreme. Anytime she read any of these, she always amped it up like threefold easily. So what was supposed to be only like a cup, I was supposed to down like a shot before eating a meal at least once a day, or my biggest meal at dinner, I believe the book had originally said. I ended up having a glass before and after every eating, and that's if she didn't boil or cook everything in said vinegar. If I had salad, it had vinegar in it. If I had steak, it was cooked in vinegar. I hate vinegar to this day, if that gives you any inkling. There was so many other ones. There was even a time, I believe I was 13, 14. Again, in most states, you can drink alcohol in your household if it's provided by the adult. But it wowed me because she read one diet said, you could drink a glass of wine with every meal. It helps with antibiotics and these good helps the fat fighting enzymes and other good whatever it said. Now, I wasn't reading most of these. I read a few of them to figure out where the heck she was coming from. So basically, I was getting a good... What size were these glasses she was using? I would say they're probably about 8 ounces of wine, box wine, and I remember it being red. So I was drinking 8 ounces of red wine with every meal. At least that was a diet I was happy on before she realized it wasn't doing nothing besides making me obviously drunk. She went on a whole seafood diet. I didn't do nothing besides run up the food bill. I love me that lobster, though.
Shut up, Funk. I don't need you to make a noise, right? Shut
but
up,
these
Funk.
diets got so extreme, and she was trying everything. She was talking to the family, we gotta get her diet under control. Because the time I was 8 years old, I was 100 pounds. I believe. Yeah, I think I was 8, and I was already 100 pounds. So the time they were like, that's baby fat. We need to keep an eye on that and make sure it goes away. By the way, my grandmother is the type of woman that cooks with a giant tub of lard the white giant I forget how many gallons they are, but I say they're like 5-gallon bucket things that you can go. She bought these buckets for all her cooking. She did a whole lot of fried cooking. She did a lot of baking. And this is before her whole diet craze. She was that nice grandma that you hear that you go to, and she makes you all the pie. She makes you all this delicious food. Yeah, she made me a plumpy. And going onto this starving diet when I hit 13, when they realized I was 100, I know it was over 150. I think it was 175 when I was 13 years old. 175. That sounds about right. I could be off, but I was obviously overweight, round in all angles. Give me a second. So, being overweight, then my grandmother felt like, oh, she needs to kick this in the butt real fast. Like I said, it can't be just simple, it has to be threefold. So, I was walking miles upon miles a day. She would make me run and run and run. And I'd be so darn exhausted at the end of the day. She started making me just shovel the soft spot, which is normally pushed by a bloody bulldozer. Made me try to unshovel it. By the way, did you know fact, if you dig more than 2 feet into condensed sawdust, it actually can cause third-degree burns because how compressed that sawdust and acid is hot. You can, I'm sorry for the weird fact, you can bury a carcass in that if you dig more than 2 feet, bury the carcass in that and bury them, they will be gone in less than a week because the acid, tree acid, sap, is the strongest but slowest burning acid. And we'll combine the heat will make that material break down. That's why if you ever go to a sawdust pile and you see the metal building, all the metal is like rusted away from the sawdust. And that's not rust, that is the sap eating the metal. But anyhow, getting a little distracted, sorry. My grandma was a bit extreme with these diets. Give me a second. But I'll give you, she had good intent. She wasn't a horrible grandmother, and I loved her. She was probably the most sweetest person in the family. But she was not all there. I would say she had some tendency of bipolar. She would have, her good days and her bad days, and they can last weeks, and then she'll change again, and they can seem a bit dramatic. But I think she had good intentions of why she was trying so hard to get me to lose weight, because I had gained so much and realized, oh, she's going to be fat. Let's make her lose this weight. But because she was so extreme about the whole diet stuff, that she was willing to do anything. And going through all these fads, I'm not going through all of them, they're all crazy, just sharing a few. Weight Watcher, etc. That she was talking to my dad one day, and he decided to troll her, telling her, oh, didn't you hear about the new diet? And she's like, oh, there's a new diet? Yeah, it's called the grapefruit diet. That if you drink a pint of grapefruit a day, and you take a rolling pin and you roll the rolling pin over your fatty areas to break up that fat, the citrus acid and the amino acids and all these things in the grapefruit will help break down that fat and flush it out. Oh, she bought the pints? Except for either she did it on purpose, or I'm hoping she just didn't understand. But she was feeding me concentrated grapefruit juice, and I was drinking a pint a day, and it was the only thing I was allowed to drink other than water. It tore my stomach up. I felt like it was burning me from the inside after week 4. And then I was just getting so tired of it. But yeah, those are my nightmares. And only a few to start. I'll let you guys go. Losing myself here in these rants. But thank you for listening, and I hope you have a good one. Bye. Don't forget to leave a like and a comment. Thank you.